Hey guys, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. In this video, I just wanted to clarify that in the very beginning, I say that I break up a project on the Integra and a project on the Civic. Well, I was editing and I decided I'm going to just make it 2 videos. So this video will just be about the projects that are going on the Civic, and then my next video that will come out on Thursday, next Thursday, will be about the Integra. So for now, enjoy this Civic video. I do have more parts coming and more projects on both cars. So next week's video about the Integra, it will basically be an update on the progress of the wire engine harness install. So also I do mention about the knock sensor, but there's a problem. I never actually do get to install it. So in next week's video, I'll tell you why I cannot install the knock sensor on the Integra. So anyways, please enjoy this video about my 91 Civic and tune in next week for the video on the Integra. Thanks for watching. What's up, guys? I am here with my 1994 Integra GSR and my 1991 Civic DX. And today's video is going to be projects on both cars. I'm first going to start with the 91 Civic, and then I'll move on to the project I got going here on my Integra. If you've been following my videos, you know that this Integra has been down for a little bit. I'm trying to fix a problem that this car has had for about 2 years, and hopefully this new wire harness that I'm currently in the process of installing will help. I had a bad wiring harness, but anyways, that's a whole nother story. Let's get to this pile of parts real quick, and I'll give you a quick overview of what I got here. I have 3 different projects. Today, we are just going to tackle this one and this one. And actually, this is a whole nother project, and this is a whole nother project. So these 2 are kind of like a preview. Let's see here. There's a part number for you. These are just some nuts right there. That should give you a big indication right there of what's gonna go on in the future. And then here we have a little, looks like a ball bearing almost, a couple of springs and some crush washers. All right, that's the only hints I'm going to give you for future projects. All that is for the Integra. All right, so these are today's projects. So right here I have the Integra's part, and then this is the Civic's part. Since this is already out of its bag, let's go ahead and start with this guy. This is a knock sensor, a brand new knock sensor. And obviously here's the old one, and while I was taking off the wiring harness, I just actually barely pulled on the clip to get it off of this knock sensor, and it pulled apart this plastic piece. I did some research on some forums and stuff, and apparently that happens quite often when people want to take off their knock sensors. So looks like it was just barely soldered on there, and that little piece in there actually looks like it's porcelain or something, but yeah, if you've ever wondered what the inside of a knock sensor looks like, that's what it is. This is not a cheap part from Honda or from Acura. This is actually $185, so not cheap. I know I could have bought a cheap replacement off of eBay, but if you know me, I always like to go OEM parts if they're not discontinued. So that is today's little part for the Integra. I have loomed up the harness and everything for the Integra. I'll get into that a little bit later. Like I said, first we're going to tackle that project on the Civic. As you can see, I also have the loom in there. So I think if I put in my battery, attach the wire to the alternator there into the fuse box, put my battery in, make a few connections, I think I may be able to start this thing today. So that was the missing piece holding me back. Hopefully I can get this thing started real soon. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of today's video. That is this guy right here. Let me go ahead and take it out of the box and explain what we got here. Don't you just love Honda OEM parts? The quality really is unmatched to aftermarket parts. It really is. That's why I love buying Honda OEM parts. All right, what we have here is a air idle control valve for my 91 Civic. Now, I did not buy this because it was clogged or dirty or anything like that. I've actually taken off my stock one and cleaned it up before, and I replaced the O-ring gasket and all that. So there you go, Denso. Now, the reason why I bought this is, let me show you on my car here. So this has two coolant lines going to it, this one right here and this one down here. And as you can see, it has a little split right here. Coolant runs through this part right here. It is held on by 3 screws. And whenever I took this air idle control valve off to clean it up, I tried to undo these screws, but they wouldn't budge, and I didn't want to strip them, so I just left it alone. So this part has actually never been off as far as I know. But what it is doing is, as you can see, this end cap right here comes off. You can see the split right here, that line. Well, it's leaking coolant. I recently went on a trip, an 8-day trip to Hawaii, and whenever I came back, there was about a 2/4 sized puddle of coolant. And it was also, there was also some coolant on my brand new Denso alternator sitting there. So I daily drive this car, and I really need it to be reliable, and you know, oil or coolant leaks, that is just, leaks are not acceptable at all to me. So I'm heavily relying on this car to get to work, so I need to be reliable as possible, and that little crack right there, leaking coolant, that's a problem. So, yep, I had to buy a new one. There's no gasket or O-ring right here, by the way, or else I would just replace that, but I have taken off other air idle control valves, and as far as I know on this one as well, there is no gasket. So the problem is just the mating surfaces. I mean, this thing is 29 years old, so that's how old the car is. So it probably needs to be replaced anyways. So that's that. That's the story behind that. Let's go ahead and get this guy off, undo those coolant hoses, and replace it. All right, first things first, let's go ahead and take off those 2 coolant hoses. I have a little pinch tab right there. Then I have replaced this hose right here before. That's actually a Vibrant racing hose, and I'm just gonna get a screwdriver and unscrew that one off. Take those off first. Then it looks like we have 1, 2 bolts right there. A lot of times these coolant hoses are stuck on there. You just take some pliers and move it, twist it back and forth, and that helps knock it loose. And just kind of help push it off. There we go. That should do it. Probably a little bit of coolant will leak out. There we go. Well, not too much. Okay, one hose off. All right, I have both hoses, coolant hoses, disconnected. I also disconnected the wiring harness from it, and just to get some room, I disconnected the wiring harness from the TPS. So now I just have to undo these bolts right here. I believe they're 12mm, and we can take this guy out. There we go. Oh. All right, last one. We should be able to take this guy out after this. Oh, by the way, the one in the back is shorter than the one up front. So this one went back there, and this one went right there. Little difference in length there. All right, so now it's free. There we go, here's our prize. I'll go ahead and set it down before it leaks coolant everywhere. There it is, a little bit of coolant everywhere. But I'll clean that up, clean the surface up, and let's check this guy out. Yeah, see, this one isn't dirty. I mean, I just cleaned it a few months ago, and I put a new O-ring gasket on it. Yeah, you can definitely see how there's coolant. I run Honda Type 2 blue coolant, and you can definitely tell that is remnants of it right there. It has been leaking. So, a little bit of rust on there. On both ends. But yeah, Cool. Little comparison for you. There you go. Yeah, they are exactly the same part, so let's get this guy installed. All right, guys, project 1 is completed. I have both coolant hoses hooked back up and 2 bolts, very easy install. And I have the harnesses plugged back in. I unplugged the TPS and this one, so they are back in. And yeah, only thing left to do is start the car, see how she runs. Some coolant did leak out, so it may take a little bit of time for the coolant to run through this for it to operate at 100%. But yeah, big thumbs up, and I'll update you guys here in the next video or two and let you guys know if there are any coolant leaks or anything like that. But other than that, this should be good to go. Now let's move on to the Integra.
Honda.